Emmerson Mnangagwa is set for a second term as Zimbabwe's president. Yes, the Electoral Commission says he won 53% of the vote, with 44% for his main challenger, Nelson Chamisa. The opposition is rejecting the result, though, saying it was rushed without proper verification. The general election on Wednesday was extended by 24 hours after ballot papers failed to arrive on time in some areas.
I'm humbled by the trust and confidence that you, my fellow countrymen and women, have reposed on me to once again serve as president of our great country, Zimbabwe. There is much more work to be done. Together, as one united people, we shall continue on the growth trajectory witnessed over the last 5 years.
Let's cross to Harare. Harry Mutasa joins us live from there. And Harry, so controversy over the election results. What can we expect to hear from the opposition?
Well, what is Nelson Chamisa going to do now? That's what a lot of Zimbabweans are asking. We're at the party headquarters where he's meant to address a press conference in a few minutes. But on Twitter, he's been saying that this was a blatant and gigantic fraud. He's told his supporters not to lose hope. And party officials are saying what they're doing right now is, in parts of the country where they are, they're collecting all their votes, their independent tallies, they're putting them together, they're adding them, they're authenticating them, and then they'll release their own independent tally when they're ready, and they say this tally shows that they won the election. That's why they're saying that they feel this election was stolen.
What option, though, what options do the opposition actually have?
Well, most Zimbabweans, I think there's a sense that people know that street protest, there's not much appetite for them because the police here tend to clamp down hard on demonstrations. So people are expecting him to go to court. But of course, what evidence does he have to prove that this election was stolen, as his party suggests? There have been some logistical challenges, and also in some cases, their party officials say they have not been able to access certain parts of the country, which are ZANU-PF strongholds. So they may not be able to get information from those particular areas. So what will he take to court? Back in 2018, when that election was disputed, he told Zimbabweans he had all the evidence he needed to challenge the disputed election. The court ruled that he did not have the necessary documents to prove that that election was stolen. So people are waiting to see, first of all, today, one, is he going to court? And two, does he have the evidence to tell the country or to prove to the country that the election was rigged?
All right, Haru, thanks very much. Back with you as we hear from Chamisa a little bit later. Well, Emmerson Mnangagwa is Zimbabwe's second democratically elected president since independence from white minority rule in 1980. He came to power following the coup which deposed long-time leader Robert Mugabe back in 2017. Mnangagwa is nicknamed the Crocodile. That's for his reputation during fighting between ZANU-PF and another party dominated by the Ndebele community. Up to 20,000 of them were killed during the conflict in the 1980s. At the time, Mnangagwa was National Security Minister in charge of the intelligence wing of the army. Mnangagwa denies overseeing the killings. So let's take this on. We can speak to Farai Marapira, who is Director of Information and Publicity for the ZANU-PF party, joins us now from Harare. And great to have you with us. Appreciate your time. So Chamisa, the opposition candidate, he says it's a blatant and gigantic fraud. His voters should not lose hope. What do you say to that?
Thank you for that. Mr. Chamisa is replaying the same game that he played in 2018. On the 24th of July, he came out in a headline on the Newsday, one of private newspapers here in Zim, saying that there is no way that the election could be rigged. And it was headline news. And now they've changed their stance and they're saying that some rigging might have happened. So as ZANU-PF, our collation of results are tallying with what Zek has said. If Mr. Chamisa has got any challenges with the results, he's very free to visit the courts and seek redress from the courts.
OK, well, we'll hear from what
Mr.
Chamisa, hear what he has to say shortly. But he's not alone in his views, is he? Because international observers say that the vote fell short of democratic standards?
Well, I don't know if we can say all international observers, because the Indian election observers have been in support, they've come out in support of the election, and they've found them credible. It's quite daunting that you find that people want to say that there is a major challenge with elections simply because on the voting day, less than 1% of the polling stations failed to do their voting. And through a presidential proclamation, the very next day, everyone was accorded the chance to do their voting. So some of the allegations that they're leveling towards us, trying to discredit the election, with all due respect, are spurious. But we respect opinions, and we'll look at the opinions, we'll take what is good, we'll leave out what is bad. We keep on developing ourselves as a democracy.
Okay,
but,
what of local
it's
vote monitors?
Not everyone comes to...
What of local vote monitors being arrested? Local vote monitors being arrested, and a ruling party affiliate organisation taking details of people walking into voting booths. That's voter intimidation, isn't it?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, a lot of countries in the world do exit polls. And besides, there's nothing illegal. It's unfortunate that it's only in Zimbabwe where if exit polls are conducted, it becomes a scandal. It plays to the concept of having people with agenderism instead of objectivity. These exit polls were not occurring within 300 meters of any polling station. These were occurring more than 300 meters outside of the polling station. So I really don't understand how exit polls can be considered as voter intimidation. It's only in Zimbabwe, nowhere else.
If Chamisa does elect to go to the courts, if Chamisa does elect to go to courts, how long will that process take, would you say?
I can't speak on behalf of the courts or their processes, but I know that we've got an electoral court, and if you look at the whole electoral process, how it has been moving, cases have been attended to swiftly. This is born on the back of reforms that have been done by President Mnangagwa himself, that now our court processes move faster. So if they go to courts, their case will be heard as quickly as possible. We believe in that. And if they really do have any challenges or anything that they feel is unfair with how the election has been run, that's why the courts are there. We encourage them to go to the courts, not the courts of public opinion with unproven things. They're very, very welcome to go to the courts. We encourage them to actually go to the courts if they feel they've got any case to present.
The thing is, Mr. Maripira, there is no doubt that the elections were delayed. They were marred by delays, which has fueled accusations of rigging and voter suppression. And that's been a real problem, isn't it?
Well, when you say when less than 1% of polling stations and wards face a bit of a delay, then you say the whole election was marred by delays. That's a bit on the side of hyperbole, with all due respect. Every election it's a human process. There are errors that are made, there are challenges that come, some foreseen and some unforeseen. Remember, most of these delays occurred in places where there had been electoral challenges almost to the day of election. So we can understand on behalf of ZEC, I don't speak for ZEC, I speak for ZANU-PF, but we can understand that ZEC had challenges because there was really not much of the time to print in these particular places. You look at the places, there were challenges. Now you find the opposition saying, why were there no delays in some rural areas? It's because there were no electoral cases before the courts. So areas that were mainly affected were areas that had electoral cases before the courts. And these cases led right up to the eve of elections. This is what, in my opinion, caused the delays in the printing and all associated challenges that came from that issue.
When, finally, Mr. Maripira, when the head of the EU observer mission says that the election took place in a climate of fear, do you think, is he just making it up?
You know, if you look at most of the observers, they've spoken of a peaceful election. And the issue of intimidation and fear, I don't understand where it's coming from. The opposition has been canvassing for votes everywhere. They've been moving as freely as possible. And there's been literally no violence. There's no violence to talk about. If we look at how other countries have done their elections, we've had the most peaceful of elections. So the justification for intimidation, I would really love to see how they can justify such an allegation in their final report, because we've really had very peaceful elections, very little violence. So what medium of intimidation was used? I'm very curious to also see when they present their final report.
We appreciate you joining us here on Al Jazeera. Farai Marapira, who's the Director of Information and Publicity for the ZANU-PF party. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.